Good evening. We are here and we are live. And Lee is here from Indiana. Jean is here from New York. Linda from Illinois. And Linda from New York. Evelyn, hello. And Regina, my friend, is here from North Georgia. Awesome. How are you all tonight? We got a little bit of rain this afternoon, which we needed, but of course that made me cold. Everything makes me cold, though. So it's really not surprising. Trees, welcome from Utah. Tonight I'm going to talk about two things. I want to talk a little bit about embroidery. As most of you know, I'm not a prolific embroiderer. Er, but I'm getting to learn it and I'm getting better at it. And I am so proud of my little samples that I did. But these aren't going to be samples. Hi, Ruth Ellen. Nice to see you. Judy P., good to have you here. And Diana is watching from Bermuda. Diana, I'm jealous, okay? Just so you know. You can definitely mark me off as jealous. Anyways, so what I decided to do was tonight's project. This is half of tonight's project. And I'm just putting this together in a little table runner. And I saw this done online this week. And I wanted to try it. What I want you to notice, there's no seams here. Pretty tricky, huh? Yeah, actually, what you do is you cut out the center and then you cut, of course, across your diagonals, and you end up with these nice little points here, and you stitch from side to side, and then you stitch from this side to this side. And I'm really liking how it turned out. Okay. I really think it turned out cute. But what I like even more is how my embroidery looks centered in here. And this is from our sampler set. And this is another from our sampler set. And I made two of these and one of these. So the way I'm going to position these is I'm going to have one of these, and then next to it, I'm going to be putting one of the blocks that we're going to work on tonight with our Paisley templates. So I'm really excited about this project. Can't wait to get it done. I promise I will post it on Westerly by me. When it is finished, I'll also post it on 906 Quilting and on my own Facebook page. So I really am getting excited with trying to merge the embroidery and the ruler work together. Okay. So keep watching because I think you're going to be seeing more of that from me because I like doing both things. And now that I'm learning better how to do the embroidery, my next project is going to be to do an edge to edge design in embroidery, and I will make sure that gets posted. But let's talk about our Paisleys and let's see who else is here, okay? All right. Oh, I got to go back up quite a ways to see Debbie's here from Glendale, where it's bone dry and hot. Debbie, I could take some of that heat right now because I am freezing. Kathy's here from New York. Oh, Nancy, yes, I miss you. Nancy and I got to take a little ride together today. We spent the day together and we had a wonderful time as normal. We always have fun together. And Nancy Cook is here from Victoria, Australia. It's about Oh, let me think. At 8 AM, it's 5 p. I know it's on the other side of the world, so it's a lot different. Marcia's here from North Carolina. Oh, good. Jan's here, and she used the basting spray, the homemade basting spray. If you haven't gotten a recipe for that, you can go ahead and email me. I'll send it off to you. It's a lot cheaper for me, and I think you'll find it's a lot less expensive than cans of basting spray. So, Jan O'Grady, yes. She said, "I'm here. The basting spray works okay now." That's what I was just talking about is the basting spray. Ken wanted to make sure that I saw your message, Jan. Sue's here from Texas. Wanda's here from across town. Rita's here from Australia. It's 9 AM in Victoria. Thank you. I am going to mark that down so I remember it because at 8 AM, I don't know what I did. Oh, yeah. At 8 AM, it's 5 PM. Okay, sorry about that. All right, Debbie. Yep. But you didn't don't miss it. Yeah, you're right, Debbie. Oh, Sandy, good to see you again from Florida. And Sue is here from Florida. It's warm there. It's 9 AM Wednesday, Nancy says, and she is also in Australia. Lori is here from Michigan, another Michigander. Randy is here from Oklahoma. I am so glad to have you all here. It's just so nice to see you. Okay, let's take a look at our three-piece Paisley template set. We have two different template sets. One is by DM Quilting, which is the one we drew for this week. The other is by Westerly. And I'm sure we will be going and using that as well one of these days. So, what I want to show you, we have a dog looking for attention here. And he is getting it. I don't know if it doesn't work. I'm sorry, guys. The sewing machine's in the way of Ken petting the dog. I was gonna show you my puppy. It's a miniature Australian Shepherd. Yep, we have two of them. Okay, so let's take a look here. Here is our center, vertical center. Here is our horizontal center. And then we have our 45-degree lines marked as well. And each template is marked the same way, the vertical, horizontal, and the 45 degrees. Now, what I want you to notice is I went ahead and put a little bit of stable tape right here on this particular template. And the reason being is when we're coming around this curve, one, it's really easy for us to fall off of it. And I don't ever want anybody going over the cliff. That's never a good thing. So if it reminds us to stop and move our hand here, it's going to slow us down going around the curve. And slowing around that curve is going to give you a successful stitching to stitch out as opposed to falling off. So when I looked at these, there were several different ways that I could do these, but I'm not doing them those ways. Okay, well, one I am. The other two we're going to do a little different. I decided, okay, now I'm using the smallest one here. I decided to use this as a spinifex. Okay, it's not made as a spinifex, but I thought, why not try it as a spinifex? So what I did first, and drew these out, of course, is I put one this way, and then I put one this way. And it turned out kind of cool. But in the small size, for me, it was too much. I had design overload. And that just for me doesn't work real well. Okay. So I thought, okay, let's put them all in one direction then. And that for this small one, I think works the best. Hi, Laura. Nice to see you from Florida. And I'll bet it's warm there too. Okay. So what I did was I made an 8-point, used my 8-point ruler and made 8 reference lines here. And I went ahead and I'm going to pull my thread up from the center and I'm going to go ahead and put my foot back down and my needle in. Now, what's deceiving? When we use this vertical center on this one, we are lined up perfectly. Okay. However, you can see when we use the other two, they are nowhere near this edge. So using these other two on a spin type spin effects is not going to work real well. But this one, it works okay. I want to pull you back just a little bit more so you can see more. I'm afraid that I am cutting you guys off and I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my threads back. I'm going to give myself my first stitch in place, and then we're going to come around. Now, I know you guys are going to be able to recite these things I say in my sleep, or in your sleep, I should say. Oh, I didn't test my foot earlier. And one of them is when we're going around an arc or a circle, what we want to do is we want to shorten that stitch length a little bit. Okay. One of the problems that I have with this block, and I had it before, and I definitely wanted to mention it to you. I had picked up some bargain batting. And I use it when I'm testing out patterns and stuff. Okay. Pardon me, Ken? Danielle's here. Yep. From Quebec. And I welcome you. She is our neighbor to the north. Neighbor to the north. So anyway, what happened is with this bargain basement batting, whoa, say that 3 times real quick. What I found is it's not consistent in height. Okay. It's kind of like half of this is a real low loft and half of this is real high. So what happens when I think I've got my foot at the correct height, I get to a certain spot and it just stops it. It won't let me go on. It starts bunching up and it's horrible to work. So the lesson from that is when you're working on a good project, a quilt, a wall hanging, something that people are going to see and you're going to want people to see, especially if it's a gift, go ahead and splurge a little bit on that batting. It will make the ruler quilting much easier on you. Okay. So here we're going to go again. I love, no, that doesn't work. I love the secondary design that this pulls up in here, where it kind of goes over and makes a ribbon effect on the paisley that we stitched just prior. And back to the center, we're going to go, make sure your needle is down when you twist that template, okay? Because if you don't, you'll be like me and end up on a block you didn't even have planned. No, just teasing, but it can get you out of the area that you really want to be in. And again, keeping it a little small. What I like about this littlest one is there's no cliff to fall off of. I did put some extra markings on here, and I am going to explain why when we do a different template. Randy, you keep freezing up. Um, I'm not sure what's causing that. Could anybody else tell me if they're having a problem with it? Jenny, welcome. Another Michigander. And where in Michigan? Jenny, if you're asking us where in Michigan we are in the Upper Peninsula and we are in Iron Mountain. So we are right on the Wisconsin border. Definitely. And Diane is here also from Australia. Okay, so what we have here, Randy, is we have everybody else's seems to be good. And possibly if you go out and come back in, that would clear that little problem up for you. It does happen occasionally, I know. Sometimes if the weather actually has I've noticed, can have a big effect on it. And we just had some rain come through here, and one big thunder boomer is all I heard, and now the skies are clear, so we're good to go. So here is my Spin Effects treatment to the smallest Paisley template. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut these off. These are well locked in here because we've gone over so many times. Something else I want to show you. Now, I only have the batting on the back of these. And the reason I only have the batting on the back of these is because I am going to add the backing of the whole piece. And then I am going to stitch around each block, stitching in the ditch. And for what this project is going to be, that will be enough stitching to hold everything in place. Now, obviously, I'm going to cut this down to this size, but these are going to be next to each other. And I really, really I'm going to back it up a little bit here so you can see. I just really, really like the way that it looks. And then what I'll do is I will have one here and another blue one over here. So this could easily make a darling quilt. And I love the print on it being so feminine. And of course, the polka dots so that it shows off the stitching really well. That's what calico. No, it's not blueberries. They're little blue flowers. This is calico print. Then do you all know what calico print is? Regina, yes, you can do this as a quilt as you go. It would work just as good, definitely. Patsy, thank you so much. I really think it's kind of cute. Anyway, as I was explaining to my husband here, those little tiny floral prints, those are what is called calico prints, I believe. At least that's what I thought they were. And they're back, we're talking back 30s and 40s when they had a lot of those kinds of prints for um, for quilts. Okay, this is the next one I want to show you. And this is pretty cool because what we're doing is we're doing all three templates and we're nesting them. Now this is the epitome of echoing as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Thank you, Sue. Okay, so what I'm going to do is what I did do is I started with my largest block here. And I'm just going to put it opposite. Now this one, what you're going to notice is my vertical center is not where you would expect it to be. I would have expected it to be over here, but it is over here. And when Donna developed these, she really did a great job on them in making sure that everything was exactly where it needs to be able to nest these beautifully. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my thread up at the center point. So these two are going to go head to head, so to speak. Okay. Pull my thread out. There we go. Now, this one I probably will want to bury my thread because we're not going to be going over this a whole bunch of times like we did on this block. When we go over a whole bunch of times, those threads are secured in there very well. Okay, I'm going to line it up. I'm going to take my one stitch in place. I also like to put with this particular set, I like to have the stable tape on both sides because there's some designs that I like to do with these and I need to flip them back and forth. You're going to see one of those. Okay, so here we go. Remember, smaller stitches. Right the inside of that template. Don't push your hand into the template and push the template into the foot. You're just using it as a guide because this is guided free motion. And I'm going to move these out of my way right now. Okay, I'll make sure you guys are seeing this well. There we go. Jean is here from Washington. Hi, Jean. So good to have you here. Okay, so now remember I told you this seems to be the line where the batting gets just a little bit thicker. And I thought I was being smart and saving money. And my husband will probably kind of chastise me for that because he says I cheap out all the time. And then I don't get what I want, and then I whine about it. So then he has to go and buy it, right, honey? Something like that, yeah. Okay, so now the downside to this, we have to break thread on every rotation that we do, okay? If there's a downside. My ring is sideways. Oh, thank you for telling me. Yeah, my hands are cold. It slides around. Okay. So I want to show you, just as a reminder, how I like to bury my threads. I will take this is the two threads from the beginning when I pulled my bobbin thread up. Bad angle. Okay. Not anymore. Okay, thank you for telling me. So here are the 2 threads that I picked up. I'm going to go ahead, make an overhand knot, simple overhand knot. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my self-threading needle and put it through the loop. And then I'm just going to bring it towards the top of the fabric, but not on the top of the fabric. And I want you to be able to see this clearly. Here's the top of my fabric. Here is my knot. Okay. So I got about an eighth of an inch, give or take a little. It doesn't have to be precise. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to put it in the same hole that my bobbin thread came up. Now, I have this hand back here so that I don't push my needle all the way through. For this particular piece, it doesn't matter because I'm still going to cover the back, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull that through. And I'm going to get, there we go. So I've pulled those 2 threads through, but here's the knot. The knot is still sitting on top of the fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little tug. And I don't know if you heard that, but now the knot is gone. And I have a seamless join here. I will cut off the tails, of course. Do I ever? On this, I would not. Yeah, Sandy. On this, I would not, because of the fact that I don't have I don't have enough thread built up at this top to secure those. So what I would do is if I made a jump stitch to my next template, what will happen is I won't have enough thread to bury them. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the 3-in-1, Sandy, does look great. Now, what I'm going to do is, I hope that answered your question. Yeah, that would be why. When we put the second template on, I'm going to show you, okay? Now, here is the bobbin thread where I ended. And here is the top thread where I ended. I'm going to take those 2 threads to the back side. This is something that I don't know anyone else who does it this way. But the reason that I do it this way, I'm going to make that same overhand knot. I'm still going to bring my thread through the loop. I'm going to put my needle down, make my knot about 1/8 of an inch off of the top of the back. Okay. The reason I do this is because if I do all 4 threads at one time, the knot can be too big to get through the fabric. And the other reason I do this is because I know that I pulled my needle, this way on the bottom, on the top of the fabric. So on the bottom of the fabric, I am going to bury my needle and put it going through in a different direction. It doesn't matter what direction it is, but I like to have it in a different direction. That way both knots don't end up in the same place and make a little bump. Now, would it be a big enough bump to worry about? Probably not, but I don't like to take chances. So there we go. My threads are gone. if you take a look, who's chewing? If you take a look, what is going on is you can literally not tell where we started and where we stopped, right? They just matched up perfectly. So that's why I like to bury my knots. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the second template. What's cool about the second template is that the line of stitching from the first template goes exactly into the second template. So it's a very easy placement. Very easy placement. Again, I'm going to line up my vertical line here. We don't need to worry about our horizontal lines at all. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start up here. Okay, and Sandy, this is what I was talking about. Helene and Terry is here too. Hi, guys. Nice to have you. Okay, so if I were to put a jump stitch in here, you'll see how far away it comes from the other line of stitching. It's really not that far. But I don't want to leave the jump stitch because then I would have a stitch from here to here, and then I'd have another one from here to here. And to me, that just doesn't represent the templates the way that I think they were intended to be used. Okay. Although I am one who does the templates a lot different than they are sometimes intended to be used, I really like the look of these three floating together. So I've got my thread out, going to put my foot down and put my needle back down. Okay, you might notice I got the good old 301 back out. I too much technology in the other machines. I like these much better. I'm going to hold this back a little for you. So I'm going to hold on to that thread, take that one stitch in place. And it does not matter if you go to the right or to the left. Just remember to keep those stitches short. Now, this is the big one. This is where, if you're going to come off of a cliff, it's going to be this one. So what I want you to do is I want you to just be cognizant of it and slow down. And I do like to hold the template here so that it doesn't rise up. You see, if you hold it back here, it can rise up. And I'm not saying you will get your foot underneath it, but it's possible that it may happen. So we definitely don't want that, okay? Now I'm going to come along here, and I'm going to move my thumb as we come around so that I don't end up with a knocked knuckle from the needle bar. And come around. And this is a rather large template, so we're going to have to move our hands a couple of times as well. When we do that, it's always good to ensure that the needle is in the down position. And then we can move. I do like to always keep one hand solid on the template. And we're going to come all the way around and meet our first stitch right here. Okay. And again, I'll show you one more time how we do that burying of threads. Now, if you prefer to always do it from the top, we can. We can do them both from the top. And what I want you to see here is I have a little bit of a space between these two stitches. Be it ever so small, it is there. So what I will do is I will bring my bottom thread up, make that knot, and whoops, I'm popping out. There we go. Go ahead and pull that knot down to about 1/8 of an inch. Now what I want to do is I am not going to bring this back to where my bobbin thread came up. I'm going to bring this down at the first stitch instead. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to put it in that first stitch right at the bottom here. And there we go. Now I buried that thread. Now I'm going to go ahead, remember which direction I put it in. And if you want, just leave that tail there until you've got the second thread buried and you will know where it is. Okay. Thinking about it. Okay, another overhand knot. Bring it down. Go ahead and load that needle. Remember, I came in this direction, so this time I want to come in the opposite direction. And remember, whenever I do things, I do them the way that I was taught or the way that I found that they are most comfortable to me. If you have a different way of doing this, please feel free to do it your way, okay? It's not going to be an insult to me. Everybody finds their own way to do things that is best. Oh, Jana, hi, nice to see you. Marina's here too from Kansas. Yes, Marina, it'll be videotaped, so absolutely. I did notice, Lee noticed that I have my favorite machine back. Thank you, Lee. Yeah, I don't make any bones about it. It is definitely my favorite machine. Okay, so now we're going to come to the third template. And what I did with this is I only lined up the vertical portion of this template. I have no horizontal line, okay? But what I could do, and I'm going to show you, because, some of us want that extra little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the previous template back on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and make 2 marks. Okay, so I'll make sure you can see those marks. There we go. This is the horizontal center mark. So now what I can do to make sure that I'm lined up perfectly, I am going to put the vertical center on the 45-degree line, and then I'm going to line up that horizontal center. Okay, and this way I know for a fact that I have it lined up properly. Okay, again, we're going to pull that bobbin thread up. Well, come on. There it comes. Being ornery. Ah, there we go. Now I need to put my foot down. With this machine, you cannot put, what did I do here? Okay, guys, I got totally off the mark here somehow. I'm just going to go ahead and pull my bobbin thread back out. Okay. And let's line everything up again. I guess I had it lined up pretty bad the first time. There we go. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line it up any old place. Right there sounds good. And make it easier to stay where I want it to be. And going to put that down. Make sure my threads are out of the way. Take that first stitch in place. There we go. Keeping those stitches shorter. Now, some people too, what they do when they start and stop a design like this is they do what they call micro stitching, which is like 4 or 5 really teeny tiny little stitches. And do those stay in? I guess that they do. I really think that they do. I just learned to bury. I bury my stitches. I don't think it takes all that long. It does not bother me to do it. So that's just my preference, okay? And again, now let's take a look at where we're at on this one. Did we meet our first line of stitching? Exactly. And you know, by golly, we did get it better than I thought we did. And the reason that I'm saying that is because this last stitch doesn't always line up perfectly with the first stitch. And that has to do with a whole plethora of reasons. One, I took my hands off of the template while I was stitching, or I didn't have the needle down in the down position when I moved my hands. There could be a whole lot of reasons. And don't beat yourself up over those reasons, okay? It's not worth it. It really isn't. You know, none of us are perfect. Sorry if I broke anybody's bubble, but I know I'm certainly far from perfect. Okay, so here's my top, my first stitch. Whoops, I just hit you guys, I'm sorry. And I'm going to go ahead and put that into where my bobbin thread came up. And I'm running it through the batting because I want to make sure that I don't go through any backing fabric, even though this doesn't have any. And there, the knot just pulled through. And when it does, most times it makes a little popping noise. Okay, that's not going to come out that way, which happens occasionally. And this is pretty tight too. Okay, kind of glad that happened because I can show you what I try to do then is to pull back that last stitch. And if I can pull it back, we're good. If I can't pull it back, then it's not going to come out in the laundry either. Okay, so there's that last stitch right here. And it is definitely not going to let me pull it out. You'll see how hard I'm pulling on that. That stitch is staying right there. So in this instance, we're just going to eliminate it. I'm going to pull this through here, and we're going to leave a little bit of tail because it's going to be buried anyway. And now I'm going to cut off the one that I did bury. So here we go. This is just 2 pieces. I did think about putting another one in this orientation, but when I drew it out, I wasn't really happy with how it was going to look. Ken just said it's too much, and it was. So this one we're just going to have 2 opposing. Now, what I could have done, yeah, Ken knew what I was doing before I even did it. I could have them coming one in one direction and, one in the other direction, right? And that would work. So that is another option that's available. We could have kind of pushed them together. And you know what? For an all over design, that will work. And that's what we're going to do next. This is going to be an all over design, an edge to edge. Now, this template was definitely not designed butterfly wings, Linda. Yes, you know what? You're absolutely right. Spot on with that, because I did look at this as butterfly wings when I first started. Okay, now Lee said you can't see. What is it you can't see, Lee? I'm sorry. Did I not show you how this is what we were talking about, putting one in. Well, let's get the black. Oh, it's going to show better. We talked about putting one right side up like this, and the other one, I know I could do it, upside down like this. And look at how the 2 of them nest together nicely like that. And it will work. It really will. You're going to see how I do the next one. You're going to see how I do the next one in an edge to edge design. And then you'll see how they work. Here's butterfly wings. If we tipped this template in like this and put the other one like this. Okay, let me do that again. If we put one in like this and one in like this, it would be perfect butterfly wings. It definitely would. Let me see if I've got, yeah, let's do it. Let's just do this, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it out for you. Okay, let's get a darker pen. Okay. So I'm just going to put a line down the center, just like that. Okay. Now, you've got to remember, this is going to be really rudimentary. Okay. Because I'm not really lining anything up or anything like that. We're just going to give it a quick look at how it might work. Okay. I'm going to move that over. There we go. I can move that, right? Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so I'm going to go like this. I would also do a horizontal along with this vertical line. So here's the first one, and I'm going to draw it like this, right? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over. Again, I'm not really lining anything up. I'm just kind of going for it here, guys. And we're going to go like this. Now, what else could we make? Linda says, I can see them as butterfly wings. And they are. They are really cool butterfly wings. Lee says, oh, I really like them side by side like that. It was when you were trying to get that thread. Sorry. Oh, okay, good, Lee. Good. Okay. What you could do, okay, let's do this. Let's see if I can do this. This to me is when it gets fun. Somebody says something, we're going to try and work it out. Okay, so what we can do too is maybe work out, whoops, I lost it there for a second, guys. What we can do too, obviously I would need to make some markings because I really don't have any to speak of. Right about there, I think. Make sure you guys can see this. Okay, so there is maybe an echoed feather we can do, right? Angel wings, Sue says. Yes, angel wings. Perfect. Love it. So what if we were to do it both ways? If we were to do one right side up and one upside down. And this is why I always keep you guys longer than you than we're supposed to be here. But truthfully, I don't mind if you don't mind. Okay, I lost my stitching line disc. There we go. Here we are. Ooh. And now I'm going to go ahead and bring it over this way. What do you think of that? Isn't that cool? So there's a whole lot of stuff. We could do a whole lot more too, but sadly there's only 24 hours in a day. But look at how cool. And I love that secondary design that comes up there as well. So yeah, there's other things we can do. Now what I'm going to do is come back to what we're originally supposed to do. Oh, you guys are so fun. I'll tell you, I love it. Okay, so what I've done here is I've started an edge-to-edge design, okay? And basically what I did was I took the wings. Now to me, they're going to be wings. I took the paisley and then I flipped it. And I have them so that they're just touching each other. What you're going to notice is on this, when the two paisleys come together this way, they're meeting right here. When they come together this way, they're meeting right here. So what that means is we're going to have a portion of the paisleys be heavier on one side than the other. If I was doing circles, I would have the heavier side up here, then the heavier side down here, the heavier side up here, and then the heavier side down here. You can do that with the Paisley's as well, okay? I didn't. I have all the heavier spaces on the bottom. Now, does it matter? Regina says it's a bandit. Oh, how cool is that? I get that. Look at that. She pulled that up. So that is a bandit. Awesome. Um, the reason that I did that is one, because it's going to be an all over design and it is fine by me if I did that. Now, what I could do is come back on the next row and always make sure that it's at the top. And then that's going to pull these two in. But, you know, it's a personal decision. It really is, you guys. It's what you want. So the other thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to stagger. And I've got this all drawn out because I wanted to stagger these. So my block is a finite size, okay? What I have here is 3 inches long, 2 inches wide. And that is what these markings are. This line to this line is 2 inches. This line to this line is 3 inches. So when I set this down, I know that my little grid that I drew out is going to cross over on these marks. And quite honestly, I probably put more lines in there than I needed. But when you're just learning a design, it's better to do that. It's better to have too much than not enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the bottom and I'm going to make a partial rotation here because I've got 8 inches square, 8 inches from top to bottom, 8 inches from side to side. Well, the side to side works out really good, 2, 4, 6, 8. The up to down does not. If it were 9 inches, I could have 3 complete rows, but it's not. So what I did was I split the 2 inches I had left over to make 1 inch on the bottom and 1 inch on the top because I wanted it balanced. Okay. So when I come in here and I put this template in, here's what I'm going to notice. I'm going to notice that this is my line that I'm going to stitch together with the next block. And my foot is not going to be on the inside of there at all. And let me show you what I mean by that. If I were to stitch this out, this is where I'm going to be stitching, right here. Now, here is my seam line. And you'll see I am outside of that seam line entirely. So I'm not going to stitch that one. We're going to go to the next one. And the next one is turned around. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to line up that center. I'm going to come down here. And this can get tricky, but this is why we oversize our blocks. Because we want to make sure that we have room to run this template and foot without it getting cattywampus on us, okay? Technical term, cattywampus. I'm going to go ahead, and you'll notice I'm using my 2 thumbs to hold that block down because it is not, the fabric is not totally covered by the template. So I don't want that bottom of that fabric to bunch up on me. So I'm just going to hang on to it a little bit. Now I can let go of that. And now I'm afraid what I've got going on here, I'm going to turn it around. The reason I'm turning it around is because I've got a really old glider on here and it's catching on the glider. So by turning it around, I totally eliminated that problem. And we're going to come back down. And when I did this, no, I'm not really sure why, I thought of Jaws. One movie that I really liked was Jaws. I could cut this off. It's in the seam line. It's in the seam allowance. Nobody's ever going to be the wiser. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip my template over. I'm going to line it up again. And I'm going to stitch. Take that one stitch in place. Go right up to the top and come right back down to the bottom. And stop. And again, I'm just going to flip this template over, come in here, line it up, and we only have one more to go after this. And back out into the seam allowance. I'm going to flip it one more time. This will be the last time. Make sure that I've got everything lined up. And I'm going to get over here just a little bit because I got out of line there. And just going to hold that down again. Okay, let's turn it. Maybe it's going to work better in this direction. Not going to work better in any direction. The batting is getting caught. Yeah. No worries. So what I'm going to do, I want to show you guys how to rectify this because it may happen to you. I hope not. But I'm just going to hold on to this. I'm going to lift my needle up. And I'm going to give it a little tug. There we go. Now I'm going to turn it around and now I think we're good to go. Yep, we are good to go. I got it through there. I got a little wobble in it. I'm not going to worry about that. If I was really OCD, I would. Definitely not going to. So this looks kind of like a Jaws movie coming across the bottom. And then we're going to do the same all the way up. On this one, we're going to start and where is it? There it is. And here's my spacing gauge. And what you're going to see is this blue line is exactly where the needle is going to fall. So what I want is this is my vertical center line. It's lined up on the seam line, not the cut line, the seam line. So I can start outside of my template, pull my thread up, and I don't have to worry about this. This is inside of the seam allowance. Now we're going to have the same possible challenge that we had. Oh, but it didn't challenge me at all. Okay, so I'm coming down to the bottom. I'm going to get a little closer, okay? There we go. I'm going to get down to the bottom. Now I'm going to come up to the halfway mark. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to come up to where this will kiss the next design, which is going to be the widest part of the template. Now, because you're ruler quilters, you're going to be able to gauge that. If you, however, you feel as though you don't have enough experience to gauge that, it's okay. Make a mark. I use my vis-a-vis markers for that. They're wet erase. They work awesome. They will not come off on your fabric. And look at that. It's absolutely perfect. That's exactly where it needs to be. And I can prove that by using my spacing gauge. Now, I can come up here, around, and back up. However, if I want, Jan has a question. Okay. Jana, oh, hi, Kim. Kim's here from Illinois. Jana says, I'm always amazed at what secondary patterns show up with the template design. And Jana, you're right. You just never know what's going to happen. That's why I kind of like to draw them out first. That way I'm not surprised. And if a really cool secondary pattern is going to come out, then I can actually plan for it. So you're absolutely right. Jan O'Grady has a question, and Jan's question is, well, guess I'm asking, in any edge-to-edge quilting, do you do it in quarters or go edge to edge? Jan, that's a great question. If we are stacking designs as opposed to staggering designs, and what I mean by that, I'm going to pull it out here so you guys can see. What I mean by that, if I was making this design here, then coming down and making this design here, even though it's only going to be the top, and then coming back and making it on top as well, up here, that's stacking, okay? If I were to stack these designs, I would have 3 rows with 4 across, okay? But I'm staggering the designs. And when I stagger, what I mean is I'm putting one whole design here, and then when I come up here, I'm just going to take this out. I can put it back in. So I'm doing one whole design here, then I'm going to do one whole design here, one here, and one here. So what you're seeing is this design being staggered comes through where this design is centered. Okay? Does that make sense? Oh, Sue, I'm sorry to hear you're having storms. Thanks for coming in. Does that make sense, Jan? I hope that was the question you were asking, I believe. Now I'm going to show you something else. If you have to take it off like I just did, don't cut this thread yet, okay? Because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my template back on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my needle back to where it started, or back to where I left off. I am going to go ahead and put my needle down, and now I am going to try to, I did it wrong. Let me see. There we go. Okay, here's my bobbin thread. Let's get this one out of the way. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my needle down and back up, and then I am going to pull up that loop of bobbin thread that's under there. I need to go back in this direction. Okay, so I've got my bobbin thread pulled up, and I have pulled back my top thread. Okay, there, it's pulled up as far as it can go, and now I'm just pulling back my top thread. And I am going to lower my foot and put my needle back in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stitch my next rotation. Okay, not exactly. We'll think about it better to try to clarify what the question is. I understand, Jan. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm misunderstanding your question. I apologize for that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold this bobbin loop. That's what it is. It's a loop of bobbin thread. And I'm going to hang on to that loop. If I can catch it, I'll hang on to it. I'm going to give myself a stitch or two. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to go over where I stitched that loop in. So I'm going to go down because I stitched up to get that loop. And now I'm going to stitch all the way around my template. I'm going to go. Remember now, I'm putting all of my heavy area on the bottom. So I'm stitching over that loop one more time after I've already stitched over it twice. And I'm going to go to the spot where I'm going to butt up to the next design, and it's going to be right about there. Now I can trim this, no bearing and no breaking thread. That works out pretty cool, I think. Okay, and then we're going to continue going down the line. And I'm going to do one more here. And come up to the top, down and around, come back up to where they meet, and I'm going to come back down and around, and we're going to stop at the widest point, which is right there. Whoops, I'm going to lift my foot up, and I'm going to flip my template. So we're just going to pretend I got the rest of them in. So this is what we can do with an all-over design with our Paisley's. Okay, do we have any more questions? I think we're out of time. And I hope you find value in what we've looked at tonight. Um, oh, Sandy, thank you. Thank you. You have a great night too. And tomorrow morning, we're going to be working with the Artisan Curves Persian Peak templates. Yeah, we need to get that basket over here. Would you draw something out of that basket for me, please? It's right there. Yeah, the other side of the world. So that is what we're going to be doing tomorrow morning. Thank you, Maureen. Jean, thank you. Rita, Debbie, it's always an adventure for me too. I've got to be honest with you. Sometimes, no matter how well I prepare, things don't always turn out the way they should, right? Okay, Ken's got our next week's template, and it is going to be, ooh, butterflies and botanicals. So we will be looking at butterflies and botanicals next week, and that will be a whole lot of fun. Jean, you are quite welcome. Rita, you as well. And Debbie, I really, really like meeting with you guys here. This is so much fun for me too. So don't forget, like, subscribe, share, leaving comments on the instructor page is always welcome. And Jan says, I'll see you in the morning. I will see you too. Thank you, Evelyn. So until we meet again, let's quilt.